The second group of skills that we have to develop in the analysis step of the critical thinking process is the skills that we need to identify the relations between different pieces of information. And this involves three groups of skills. The first group of skills is the skills we need to manage information, or what we call information management skills. By this we mean that we are able to classify information, compare different pieces of information, summarizing information, or putting information into order. After that, we need to develop skills of identifying relations between different pieces of information. And these relations may be mathematical relations, or verbal relations, or analogical relations, or relations between different patterns and shapes. Okay. Finally, we have to develop skills related to generating information, or what we call information generation skills. And this involves skills like inductive reasoning skills, deductive reasoning skills, inference skills, or assumption skills. In that sense, there are some logical flaws or logical mistakes. If made, they would negatively affect the soundness of the information generated. Number one, flaws in deductive reasoning. Let's have some examples. Someone came to you and says, some plants are poisonous and some vegetables are plants, so some vegetables are poisonous. Is this 100% certain? Is this logically correct? Think about it. There is a logical mistake in this reasoning, because the reasoning started with a partial premise, because he started with some plants are poisonous. If he said that all plants are poisonous and some vegetables are plants, so for sure it's certain that some vegetables will be poisonous. Okay, but he didn't start like this. He started with a partial premise saying that some plants are poisonous. Okay. Another example is someone comes to you and says that the pyramid is one of the wonders of the world, is one of the wonders of the world, and Omar is a pyramid. Omar is a pyramid. So Omar is one of the seven wonders of the world. Is this correct? Is this a logical reasoning? That's not, because this reasoning is flawed. This reasoning is incorrect, because the author of this argument, or the author of the one who came to you and said that the pyramid is one of the seven wonders of the world, and Umar is a pyramid, so Umar is one of the seven wonders of the world. He or she depended on the common word, just the common word, which is pyramid, in the first fact or the first premise, and the pyramid in the second premise. So this whole reasoning is not correct. Another example, if someone comes to you and says that the moon orbits the earth, the moon orbits the earth, Nuha is a moon, so Nuha orbits the Earth. Is this a sound or logical reasoning? It's not, because the the, the the author of this argument, depended on one true premise, which is the moon orbits the Earth, and the following premise was just a metaphorical premise, because he said Nuha is a moon. He wanted to say Nuha is like a moon. So the second premise was just a metaphorical premise, figurative premise. So, and he based his conclusion on metaphorical premise. So that wasn't correct. This reasoning is flawed. Number two, flaws in inductive reasoning. For example, if someone comes to you and said X is a sample of Y, by this he means that X is a sample, Y is the population, and he reaches a judgment, or he gives an opinion saying that what happens to X, which is the sample, will happen to Y, which is the population. What do you think? If this will be always correct? If this conclusion will be always right? No. If the sample is not representative, so the conclusion will not be logical. If the sample is not representative, the conclusion will be illogic, or will be not logical. So make sure that you can spot this flaw in inductive reasoning, because this will not be always correct. This conclusion will not be always certain, okay, in case that the sample is not representative. Another instance when we can spot a flaw in inductive reasoning is when the reasoning depends on the reasoning of somebody, or someone's reasoning depends on incomplete observation or incomplete information. Okay, the kind of inductive reasoning which depends on incomplete information or incomplete observation will not be sound, will not be purely logical. Okay. Number three, flaws in inference. Let's have some examples. If I tell you that all Egyptians are Arabs, okay, Ahmed is an Egyptian, so Ahmed is an Arab. Okay, what do you think about this? Is this good reasoning, true reasoning? Yes, that's true reasoning. Okay, because the conclusion here will be certain. Okay, but when I tell you that all Egyptians are Arabs, Ahmed is an Arab, so Ahmed is an Egyptian. What do you think about this reasoning? Is it true reasoning or false reasoning? Think about it. It's false reasoning. It's false reasoning. You have to be able to spot flaws in inference. Number four, flaws in assumptions. We're gonna study assumptions in detail when it comes to the chapter focusing on the study of the arguments and the types of the argument. We're gonna, in this chapter, we're gonna give great focus to the structure of the argument, and in that sense we will study assumptions in detail. But in this video we just want to shed some light on the flaws in assumptions. First of all, assumptions are unstated, unproven information, or unstated, unproven premises. In order to come up with assumptions, you have to connect premises, or find relations between premises in order to reach a conclusion or an inference. So in that in that way you're gonna find assumptions. In order to avoid creating flaws in assumptions, so assumptions should be related to the problem being analyzed. Assumptions should always be contribute to solving the problem being investigated. Also, the more the assumptions are, the better they are. The more the assumptions are, the better they are. Okay. Also, assumptions should be objective. So we have to avoid, while coming up with the assumptions or identifying assumptions, the assumptions should be objective. The assumption shouldn't be biased. Okay, for example, when you investigate a car accident, so you can assume that that happened because of high speed or driving in an opposite direction. Okay, or the road or the way, okay, on which the car was moving was unsuitable for driving. Okay, so assumptions here are objective. Assumptions here in this case are objective. In the evaluation step, we have to apply and utilize two kinds of skills. The first skill is the skill of argumentation, and the second skill is the skill of argument evaluation. In the first skill, which is the skill of argumentation, we have to know how to argue in pursuit of convincing others. Do not forget that in the evaluation step, we evaluate different approaches to deal with the situation, and we have to argue that a certain approach will be convenient to deal with this situation, or a certain solution is the best to deal with this problem. So creating evaluation to convince others is very important skill. And when it comes to argument evaluation, this is another important skill as well. While we argue, people may be supporters, may be opponents, may be impartial or neutral. Supporter people will support your argument. Opponents will go against your argument. Neutral or impartial people will neither support your argument nor go against your argument. They are neutral, they are impartial, and when we use argumentation skills, our aim is to change those who are opponents to be supporters, and at the same time maintain your supporters. You have to maintain your supporters and to change the opponents to be supporters, and to change those who are neutral or impartial to be supporters as well. Okay, so first we maintain when we use argumentation skills, we maintain our supporters, we at least neutralize our opponents, and we can change the neutral or impartial people to be supporters. In order to do that, you have to consider the following general tips. First, you have to understand your audience by knowing their culture, by estimating their age ranges, by knowing or identifying the percentage of males to females, and do not forget to show them respect. Another thing is to understand their points of view, to understand their opinions, because this will help you create the suitable arguments, and it will help you deal with objections, okay, and it will help you create rapport, okay. Also, you have to start with a point of agreement. This is very important. You have to start with a point of agreement because this will create or form a bond between you and your audience. Also, focus on the suitable argument for your audience and do not try to overwhelm them with arguments that are unnecessary. Okay. Also, do not try to use arguments you're not sure of. And in the end, try to summarize what you have agreed on. At the end of your argument, try to summarize what you have agreed on. These are very important pieces of advice that you have to consider while presenting your argumentation. When it comes to the skill of argument evaluation, you have to make sure that you fulfill the following points. First, evaluation of a target achievement. First, evaluation of a target achievement. Evaluation of the target achievement. Second, evaluation of the accuracy of results. Evaluation of the accuracy of results. Third, evaluation of the suitability of the means used. Evaluation of the suitability of the means used. Finally, evaluation of the plan effectiveness. Evaluation of the plan effectiveness.